to all the participants. Today, we are going to learn a new subject, which is not a new subject. We are going to learn about decimals. And the first point that I would like to make here is that decimals is not a new subject. Decimals is just fractions which are expressed in place value, in the decimal place value. Now we know how to write a number in place value. So for our discussion today, we are going to make a place value kit which can be used for making fractions also. Let us take a brief revision of a place value kit for the numbers which are integers. Nandita, how many tens are there in the number 25?
2 tens.
2 tens, right. Jyoti, how many hundreds are there in the number 325?
3 hundreds.
So there are 3 hundreds, and how many tens?
2 tens.
2 tens, and how many ones?
5.
5 ones, right? So now let us make our kit of ones and tens and hundreds, for which what we have done is pasted graph paper onto a card sheet, and then we cut out our ones, our tens, and our hundreds. So I have taken a 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter square for our ones. These are our ones. I can put together 10 ones by joining 1 to 1, and then I make a 10, which is this strip. So these are tens. And we put together 10 such strips, and we get this. 10 times 10 is 100. So these are our hundreds. Well, we are also going to use these as hundreds. You have to understand that this is the same size as this. So we are calling this also 100. So Jyoti, show me your ones. Show us your 1. Okay. Nandita, show us your 10. Okay. And Jyoti, show me your hundreds. Okay. So now what we will do is to make houses. The house of ones, the house of tens, the house of hundreds. Jyoti, make the house of hundreds on the make the house, write the house with your chalk. Write the house of hundreds. Very good. So that is the house of hundreds. Now don't keep 100 in that right now, just keep it empty. So you have made the house of hundreds. Next to that, make the house of tens. That is the house of tens. Next to that, Nandita, make the house of ones. That is the house of ones. So now, Nandita, make with the kit, make 325. Very good. And we will write that as 3, 2, 5. Right? Now, one more example let us do. Make the number 305. So that is 305. Make the number, Nandita, 215. Nanjoti, make the number 126. Right. So we know how to make and place the numbers using our place value kit that we have made using graph paper pasted on card. Now let us make also a place value kit with numerals. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a card like this, and on this I'm going to write 100, which means that this 100 represents this. Nandita, please make a few 7 or 8 hundreds with that card. And Nanjoti, like we know this is a 10, I can also make a card of 10 and write 10 on the card to represent this. So you please make some 7 or 8 tens. By writing on them. Okay, so have you made your tens? And then Gyanjoti and Nandita, both of you make a few ones also. A few ones. I think that's enough hundreds. Make a few ones now. Leave those there. You have those blank ones. You make a few ones on those which you have on your yeah. Make a few ones on that. So have you made your hundreds, your tens, and your ones using numerals? Okay, please keep them outside the slates. Make your slates. And now using the cards, Dhyanjoti, make using these cards, make 325 and place 325. Okay, so now, Nandita, there are how many hundreds?
3,
How many tens?
2,
How many ones?
5.
And can you write that number in the expanded form? You know, we write that as something plus something plus something. Please write 325 in the expanded form. $300 plus 20 plus 5. And you can write that as how many hundreds, how many tens, and how many fives. So on the other side of the slate, write that as how many hundreds? Okay, so HTU, 3 hundreds, 2 tens, and 5 units. And there is yet another way of writing it as something into something plus something into something. You'll have to remember what we used to do back in class 4 and 5. What they call Vistarit Roop in Hindi, expanded form. So 3 into 100 plus 2 into 10 plus 5 into 1. Okay? Right. Jnanjyoti, make the number 206 and keep it in the slates. $206. And in your slate, write it in the expanded form. Two into 100 plus 0 into 10 plus 6 into 1. So that will become 206, which means 2 hundreds, 0 tens, and 6 ones. Very good. Now, we have revised place value using tens for writing integers, large integers, and we are going to go ahead to discuss place value to write fractions. I want to learn how to write the number half using place value. So for that, I have to create a house for expressing fractions, not just integers. So let's do that now. This is, Jnanjyoti, what is this?
100.
100. Which is the house of hundreds? There. So you keep 100 in the house of hundreds. If now I divide this into 10 equal parts, what will be one part?
10.
10. Can you show us the 10? Where will that go? In which house? In the house of tens. Right? Now, if I take this 10 and I divide it into 10 equal parts, what will happen, Nandita?
We'll get 1.
We'll get 1, which will go in the house of
Ones.
ones.
Units.
So now we have 1 in the house of ones. So starting out from the left-hand house, that is the house of hundreds, I divide by 10, I go to the house of tens. From the house of tens, I divide by 10, I go to the house of ones. And now to discuss fractions, I have to have houses which express fractions. So I create now a house next to the house of ones. So Nandita, can you create a new house? And this is the house of hundreds. That is the house of tens. The one next to that is the house of ones. So Gyan Jyoti, what will be the house which is to the right of
1 by 10.
1 by 10, right? So that house will be the house of
1 by 10.
1 by 10. Okay. So now let us make 1 by 10. So we took hundreds and I divide by 10, which means I cut it into 10 pieces and I get this. This is tens. I divide this by tens, which means I have to cut this into 10 pieces. So Gyan Jyoti, please cut your 10 into 10 pieces. Okay, you know what to do, right? So you get, if I divide this into 10 pieces, then I get the ones. Now if I divide this into 10 pieces, I will have to again, I'll have to use the scissors and cut this into how many pieces?
4.
I'm dividing by 10.
10.
10 pieces. Okay. So can you cut this into 10 pieces? Take the scissors and cut this into 10 equal pieces. The last piece is difficult to cut. So anyway, you can Very good. So now hold one of those pieces in your hand, just one of those pieces. Show it in the camera. So what is in your hand? What is that?
1 by 10.
1 by 10. Okay. Now take two pieces in your hand. In numbers, how will you say that?
2 by 10.
2 by 10, right? So now, those are the pieces which go into the house of
1 by 10.
house of 1 by 10. Okay. Now I'm going to give Nandita a problem. Nandita, can you make half using those pieces of 1 by 10? So please make half using right. What did you do? Please explain.
I took 5 pieces of 1 by 10.
5 pieces of 1 by 10, right? Because we know that the equivalent fraction for 1 by 2 for half is 2 by 4, 3 by 6, 4 by 8, and 5 by 10. So 5 by 10 is equal to 1 by 10. Now, Dhyan Jyoti, what is the equivalent fraction for 1 by 5?
2 by 10.
2 by 10, then
3 by 15.
3 by 15,
4 by 20.
4 by 20. Okay. So, how many pieces of 1 by 10 do I need to make 1 by 5?
10 pieces.
I'm making 1 by 5. So, 1 by 5 is the same as?
2 by 10.
How many pieces of 1 by 10? 2 by 10 means how many pieces of 1 by 10? 2 by 10 means how many pieces of 1 by 10?
2.
2, right? So if I ask you to make 1 by 5, can you make it? Make 1 by 5 and show me. That is 1 by 5. Okay. All right. Now let us make, just as we made hundreds and tens and a card for ones, make some cards of 1 by 10 in the same way. Make a few cards of okay. So now we have cards of hundreds, we have cards of tens, we have cards of ones, and we have cards of 1 by 10s. Now take the piece of 1 by 10 in your hand . And can I cut that piece into 10 equal pieces? So now you've got some little squares, those very little squares. How many such squares are there in 1 by 10? You cut 1 by 10 into how many pieces?
10.
10 pieces. So how many squares are there in 1 by 10?
10.
10. And how many 1 by 10s are there in 1? In 1, how many 1 by 10s are there?
10.
10. So there are 10 little squares in 1 by 10, and there are 10 1 by 10s in 1. So how many, Nandita, how many little squares are there in 1?
100.
100, right? There are 100 squares in 1. So, Jyoti, if there are 100 of those little squares in 1, what is that one little square? What fraction is that?
1 by 100.
1 by 100, right? So now we have created hundreds, tens, ones, 1 by 10s, and for 1 by 100s we need a new house. So please create a new house now, which is the house of, what will we call that house?
1 by 100.
House of 1 by 100s. Okay, I think you can move all those cards away and keep all your slates next to each other. Okay. So now we know how to make half and keep it. Right, Jyoti? Using your kit which you have made, make half and keep it in the houses. What did you do?
I put 5 pieces of 1 by 10.
5 pieces of 1 by 10. All right. Now what is half of half?
2 by 4.
Half is 2 by 4. But what is half of half? Supposing this is half, this is 1, this is half. So half of half, remember? This is half of half. What is this?
1 by 4.
This is 1 by 4. Okay. Now you have made half and kept it in the houses, house of 1 by 10s. Can you divide that into 2 equal pieces? Okay, but now that half piece that you've made, that has to be also made in the place value kit. So how many pieces will you take for that half? How many little squares will you take?
5.
So replace that by 5 little squares. And where will those 5 little squares go? Into which house?
1 by 100.
Yes, please place them there. Okay, And now you can write. So can you tell me what is there in the house of hundreds? What will you write there? If there is nothing, we will write 0. What will you write in the house of tens?
0.
What will you write in the house of ones?
0.
What will you write in the house of 1 by 10?
Half.
See, how
2
many
by 10.
how many 1 by 10s you have there?
2.
2. So what will you write there?
2 by 10.
No, you will have to write how many pieces there are. So what will you write there?
2.
2. And what will you write in the house of 1 by 100?
5.
5. Okay, now let me write that on the board, and then we will take a pause and go for the next discussion. So this was the house of hundreds, the house of tens, the house of ones, which I'll call units, then the house of 1 by 10s, and this is the house of 1 by hundreds. When we made half using the place value kit, how many pieces of 1 by 10 did we have, Janjoti?
2.
No, we made half.
5.
We had 5. So I'm writing here now, I'm making half. So we had 0 here, 0 here, 0 here. We had 5 pieces here, and we had 0 here, right? I divided that into 2 equal pieces. So we got 0 here, we got 0 here. What did we have here?
0.
0. Here what did we have?
2.
2. What did we have here?
5.
5. So now we know how to make, place and write, and we'll go forward from here to discuss about the decimal point. That is in our next session. Thank you.